In order to keep things fair, I'm keeping 2 rules. No comically broken characters, I'll just place them in the naughty corner here. Characters' power levels are derived from their latest chapter of their manhwas, not their novel or source material, and regressors are limited to 1 life. Right, the scale is based off of the solo leveling hunter classes for reference, with added tiers past S. Let's go. Suchan is a half dragonfly, half human animal thing and can eat enemies by flying into them at high speeds. He beats a giant centipede monster and is able to fly near the speeds of sound, so I'd probably place him somewhere near an A-class hunter, although when he uses this complex this might be slightly higher. The teacher, who can turn into a suicide bomber, leans closer to an A for explosive, while the actual terrorists use brainwashing and slavery. Chiwu beats enemies by running at them at high speed. Sounds familiar, but he's not an insect. He can easily smash through rock and can electrocute people, placing him conservatively near our dragonfly. Puss in Boots is one of, if not the strongest characters in the Eleceed universe and easily stomps the vast majority of the Awakened who have superhuman speed and strength. Using his innate power and electrical attributes, Caden should easily take on most enemies up to nation level hunters. Roxana can control flesh-eating butterflies to kill humans by stripping them to their bones. Dragonflies eat butterflies though, and high-level hunters would probably use them as a buffet for free protein, B-class. At the current stage of the manhwa, the most powerful character is obviously Yu Jung-hyuk, followed by Doctor and his group, who slightly lag behind in terms of combat ability. The main cast shows a high degree of synergy and is able to power through many significant threats using abilities conferred by their sponsor constellations. Yu Jung-hyuk would apparently easily stand up against many S-rank hunters, although he is not up to the standard of Thomas or the Rulers yet. Doctor is able to knock him out around episode 65, and this suggests that Jung-hyuk is much more of a skill-based, high-damage combatant. He could easily dispatch lower-rank enemies, but would struggle against stronger, faster opponents, so I'd place him somewhere around Orchid here. Doctor falls into a similar category, albeit slightly weaker than the former, under the condition that he borrows powers from constellations. Kyrgyz, who is effectively a god, would realistically mop the floor with nation-level hunters and most monarchs, although admittedly he does not seem to be a multiverse-level threat. The average Frontera Dukedom's worker can use mana and is physically around a B-class hunter after being abused for 95-hour work weeks by their employer, Satan. Okay, so Satan Anand probably gets clapped by this guy, but if Satan has a shovel, he could probably beat up Turtleneck, and with his summons could take on some S-rank hunters. Javiel, the Queen, and the Hell Knight, on the other hand, display expert swordsmanship, but likely fall behind Yu Jung-hyuk in terms of flexibility and thus combat ability. Chris sits at a comfortable S- with his mastery over Vise, while his allies lag slightly behind him. He shows superhuman strength, but Abel, the King of Spears, is currently the uncontested champion of this world and sits comfortably in S+. Candentia, the White Elephant, is the strongest knight in the entirety of the Epic of Gilgamesh and relies on brute force to subdue her enemies. Considering that weaker knights in this universe can literally blow up mountains, I'd have to say that she could probably handle Thomas and the weaker monarchs, but lacks the stamina to fight against powerful attrition-based characters. Tartarus, the god of destruction, gets his right hand blown up by Zephyr. The former lies comfortably above S-rank hunters, but would probably get used as Kleenex by Antares. Zephyr pre-death stands somewhere below this and around the national level hunters. Ash is a commander and his physical abilities are average at best, although if he pulls off his 777 lucky punch consistently, he could take on A-rank hunters. Lucas, Ash's personal guard, is the quintessential knight and has extremely high stamina and strength, placing him well into S-class territory. Major spoilers, skip to the next timestamp if you actually want to read the series for yourself. Ian Page is a magician and is the son of the last true dragon. He can utilize a circle magic including levitation, teleportation, hallucinatory and elemental magic, and uses true dragon speak to command lesser beings to his will. He literally tells the final endgame villain to kill himself. This places him solidly amongst the god tier characters such as Antares, Kyrgyz and the rest. Bosat, at his peak hunter ability, is able to match his late father, Mation, who fights off Leviathan monsters bare-handed. He falls somewhere in the low S ranks while Lisa literally becomes Poseidon. Before his regression, Yuan sits atop the various pantheons of gods and only returns as he knows that they cannot win against the outer gods. Taken into consideration that these gods are very mortal from the same dimension and are nowhere near omnipotent, I'd place him somewhere around Thomas and Antares and the outer gods slightly above that. The main character slays dragons for fun, but he's very much in the middle of his growth, currently in the manhwa, and with the Frost Queen's help, this cute couple might barely scrape into S+ tier. Hansu can augment his body, control minds, fly, use telekinesis, has immense strength and is currently effectively immortal. Unfortunately, this psychopath could probably wipe the table with everyone below SS class even without his girlfriend. It's said that the Demon King Pedonar's strength has been divided into hundreds of pieces throughout the multiverse. When even a fraction of this below 1% is brought together, Pedonar literally teabags on Hantsu. It's safe to say that a full power Pedonar could easily shiz on the entirety of the solar leveling verse. Gongja sits at a comfortable S tier with his various immunities and arsenals of skills, while his masters both sit near the realms of godhood. The Heavenly Demon splits mountains that are a few miles away after being starved and fighting a zombie virus for 3 years. In the story it's said that they're able to control the movements of every cell and molecule in their body, so yeah, safe S tier. Current peak Muon is an absolutely terrifying duelist and arm collector. Using his Forsworn sword art and arm collection and 25th century nanotechnology, he could easily erase your Doctor and his peers, but would pale in comparison to stronger enemies. The undisputed champion of this universe is the Heavenly Demon, who conveniently dies in Chapter 1 without really showing any of his abilities. Estimating by the fact that he's terminated a literal mountain of enemies with similar expertise to Xiongmyang, a sword saint, I think it's safe to say that this man could easily obliterate Sang Junei's most powerful summons, and most monarchs. He may not be able to personally do dimensional travel, but he's quite good at sending people to another dimension. So in the story it's implied that Izaha is actually indirectly the founder of the Hwa sect, as he invents their trademark sword techniques from scratch. He can run through the air effortlessly, which is something that is suggested to be rather difficult in Nanomachine, easily mops up dozens of enemies, and really hasn't met his match yet in the manhwa. So if I'm being conservative, I'd place him in a similar tier to Yu Jong-up for now, although I do feel like in terms of sheer talent, he is miles ahead of his Murim contemporaries from Nanomachine and manhwa. While the main character's abilities themselves might be nothing too special, he fights enemies who can disintegrate buildings and mountains like it's nothing and beats them. I'd place him somewhere around Haviel. Steroids, the first mini-boss, is somewhere similar to him. While the big baddie of this series hasn't really shown any of his power, he's an immortal and it's safe to assume that he can beat the 9 heavens by himself, placing him somewhere above Thomas. Helmuth uses magic and swords and shit and is kinda weak at the moment, not gonna lie, since he's still a kid, so we'll look at his caretakers instead. His adopted dad is the world's best swordsman, somewhere around here, and I've made his size proportional to the impact he has on the main story. Well, there you go for this as well. I'll make a part 2. If you disagree with the list, just leave a comment, or I've left a link to Google's Nights with all of the manhwas mentioned. Just copy the file and make your own tier list, let us know what you think. Bye.